I have been deep in the trenches working on this video. I thought it was going to take me an extra day to put out this video than a regular video, but it ended up taking me like 3 days. Now, I wasn't working on it the whole time, and I was juggling other stuff at the same time, but this still took significantly longer than I thought it was going to. I wanted to make a video dedicated to identifying each of the comic books featured in this one shot of the DC Dual Force trailer, mainly because I think it's a really cool thing to do, but also it might give us some insight to what to expect of certain PvE missions and even characters that might pop up in the game. So I took a screenshot of all of the comic books that show up in this shot, assigned them individual numbers, and then one by one I went through every single character I could identify in those screenshots, looked at their archive of comic book covers, and tried to match them corresponding with the image that we see in the trailer. This got a little bit tricky because sometimes they used comic book variants, which there's not a particularly good archive of comic book variants. I'm a big DC fan, but my passion for DC comes from mostly animation. It goes animation, other types of adaptation, like their live action stuff, and comic books come last for me. That's not because I don't enjoy reading comic books, but it's because during the early parts of my life, it was really hard for me to get access to comic books. I lived in a really remote area, so it was never a hobby I was able to sink my teeth into. So honestly, doing this, well, quote unquote, research for this video was actually super fun. I got to learn a bit of history about DC, history that wasn't already apparent to me. So while I won't be able to give you a ton of background detail on each of these comic books, because I'm certainly not an expert, maybe at the very least, I'll give you something to read. Unfortunately, we did come up a little bit short. There are 8 comic books that show up in the trailer that we were unable to identify. I say we because I actually enlisted the help of other community members. All of these in some form or fashion contributed to what we were able to put together here, so I super appreciate that. Here's all of the images we weren't able to identify. Number 1 looks like it might say coming soon, or maybe John Constantine, or something like that. I don't know what to make of the second one here. I'm thinking it might be Batman spreading his cape, and the yellow thing that we're seeing is his utility belt, and then the gray is obviously his suit. Number 3 is obviously some type of Steel or Man of Steel cover, though I couldn't find anything that matched it. The closest thing was this, but that's not one-to-one, so there's obviously something going on with this cover that I wasn't able to identify it. I'm not sure what to make of the fourth one. Different people were seeing different things. Some people were seeing Sinestro, some people were seeing Reverse Flash. Yeah, we're unsure what to make of that one. The fifth one really annoys me because it should be easily identifiable, right? There's some sharp lines. It's a very particular style. It's got an orange to yellow gradient, or maybe even a red to yellow gradient. This should be something that is easily identifiable, but unfortunately we weren't able to find it. Again, this number 6, I think, was also Batman. Just looking at the bottom corner, I see gray, and then it looks like he's standing on top of something, and there's a bit of yellow in the center of that, so I think that's the utility belt. And then up towards the top of that gray area, we see a bit of black area, and I think that's, of course, his bat symbol. So I think that is a Batman cover, though I wasn't able to find it. Number 7, also, there was some contention over what this was. Some people say they see Catwoman here, which actually might be true. I think I lean towards the Catwoman category, but this could also be Sinestro. You see the top of his suit being yellow, and then the face maybe looking a little bit purple. And then obviously this last one is Superman, but I wasn't able to find the cover. All right, well, all of that out of the way, let's jump straight in. Starting with Batman number 655. In each of these slides, you're going to see a list of characters that were predominantly featured in that particular issue. Now, I'm not going to talk about those, but just know that that list of characters isn't always going to be a full list of characters that were actually in the issue. It's going to be a list of characters that I think are not only in the issue, but they're important enough, or they're the type of character who could receive a card of some sort. For example, if there's like a one-off random character who's not even a villain or a fighter or whatever, if there's just like a random friend of Lois Lane's, I'm not going to put that character on the featured characters list. To my knowledge, I believe Batman 655 is the first appearance of Damian Wayne, a character I like quite a lot, and a character I certainly hope shows up as a card. All-Star Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder, number 9. In this issue, Green Lantern confronts Batman claiming that he kidnapped Dick Grayson, ultimately leading to a scuffle between the three, which ends up injuring Hal Jordan. Seems like this would be a great setting for a PvE mission. Maybe you play against Batman and Dick Grayson, and you're a stand-in for Green Lantern and you fight the two of them, or perhaps you just fight Green Lantern. Depends how the PvE missions themselves are actually handled, but you can see how this would be a good setting for that type of thing. Superman Volume 3, Issue 18. The big thing that Superman's doing in this issue is that he's attending a US Senate hearing about the existence of the Fortress of Solitude. Outside of that, there's a lot going on with Orion and Highfather. Batman Dark Detective number 1. Joker crashes a party that Bruce Wayne is attending, which of course leads to a fight between the Joker and Batman. Two-Face learns that the Joker is planning to steal the upcoming governor race, and vows to kill him. Wonder Woman Volume 3, number 13. I couldn't actually find a synopsis of this issue, so I actually had to skim through myself using the DC Infinite app. And honestly, I don't have much of a synopsis for you myself either. She opens the issue by fighting some dinosaurs. She goes to Congress as Themyscira seems to be holding her accountable for something she did. There's no context in this issue that I was able to glean through my quick skimming. I didn't read the whole issue, to be clear, but it looks like it's in the middle of an ongoing story. So obviously there's not much that I can glean from that. But at the very least, there's a dinosaur fight in there, so maybe that could be a PvE encounter of some sort. Action Comics number 829. This is part 2 of an ongoing story, but it seems that Superman is being manipulated somehow. I'm not familiar with the overarching story being told here, but Martian Manhunter ends up visiting Lois Lane in her house as an insurance policy, a protection against a crazed Superman, which I think is a cool setting. It seems like a story that I would enjoy, actually. Any story where Superman goes off the rails is probably a pretty fun one. Wonder Woman Volume 2, number 152. Once again, there is no synopsis for this one, and as far as I can tell, it is not on DC Unlimited, so I do not have a synopsis for you. Batman number 423. Batman actually cries in this issue. It's not a characteristic of Batman's you get to explore very often, but GCPD officers are sitting around a diner. They're telling stories about Batman, including how Batman saved an old lady from a hostage situation. And the big thing that they focus on in this issue is the story that Batman saved these 2 orphans, and then a totally unrelated character, Bruce Wayne, actually temporarily adopts those orphans, brings them in until those orphans are able to find a more permanent residence. What a good guy, huh? Batman number 251. The Joker escapes the mental hospital for the criminally insane. Batman tracks him down by following pollution created by Joker's venom, and outside of that, not much happens. He captures the Joker. I will say, as a random note, Batman actually gets to fight a shark in this issue. Not like King Shark or like a particular character named the Shark, but like just a shark. So that's cool. Zatanna Volume 2, issue 11. This is another one that probably requires a lot more additional context to be able to fully grasp a synopsis. But in short, Zatanna gets into a fight with Stringleshanks and has a small confrontational run-in with Brother Knight. Detective Comics number 682. Tim Drake goes to deal with a fire at Wayne Chemical Plant. It's there that he finds KG Beast and learns that he has access to a nuclear device. Zatanna Volume 2, issue 15. Zatanna's just chilling in this issue. She's in her dressing room. She's relaxing after a long week, and a spear crashes through a window, cutting her throat, and with said throat injury, she's not able to cast her traditional magic that she normally uses, so she retreats from the situation, and the rest of the issue is her dealing with a group of witch hunters which are out to get her. Wonder Woman issue 177. This one dude called Klamos, I think, or Klamos, something like that. He's looking for a suitable queen for his monarch. They capture a bunch of women, and they're forced to do battle with each other for, and I quote, the honor of marrying Klamos or Klamos. I'm not sure. Man, the 60s was something, huh? Anyway, Supergirl and Wonder Woman team up and trick the bad dude, and we're all happy in the end. So a bit of a swerve for you there. The comic book cover sets it up in such a way that it looks like it's going to be a full-on fight between Wonder Woman and Supergirl, but in actuality, they team up to beat the bad dude. JLA number 1. A group of white Martians called the Hyper Clan make an aggressive attack against JLA as they claim to be galactic saviors. As you can imagine, there's a lot of JLA characters in this one. Superman Volume 2, number 204. The only synopsis I could find for this one online was, as people around Earth begin to disappear, a new threat tests Superman like never before, which tells me essentially nothing about what happened in this one. So unfortunately, I don't have a great deal of detail on this. So I'll mention this instead. The cover is actually the same artwork that they use for the leader card Superman, so that's pretty cool. Maybe in the future when we have access to more revealed cards, or heck, maybe I'll do it anyway. We have 11 cards to go over, so it might be worth doing. I'll go over each of the comic book covers they use in the card arts. Justice League of America Volume 2, number 1, and this one's actually a variant. So this is not the artwork that they use for the regular release of the comic. This was a variant. Just as a small note, I want to say a lot of characters are featured in this one that didn't make it onto the featured character list because they were very minimally featured. Key members of the Justice League vote on who should become a new member, and this is just part 1 of a much larger 6-part series, so there's no clear beginning, middle, and end in this particular issue. This is the beginning of a 6-part story. Sinestro number 23. This issue featured a huge fight between the Red Lanterns and Yellow Lanterns, so I'm sure it's going to make a perfect PvE battle in the future. Green Lantern Volume 4, number 1. Truth be told, there's not much to glean from the synopsises on this one. It's primarily just set up for future stuff that they're going to do, getting all of their key pieces into place. So yeah, nothing to report on this one. I would have to do a deep dive on like the whole run to tell you what's going on with this particular era. This next one's really cool, I think. It's Catwoman 9 Lives of a Feline Fatale. As you might have guessed based on the cover, this is a collection of stories rather than one individual story. Within this collection, you'll find Batman number 1, Batman number 197, Batman Batman number 210, Batman number 392, Batman Gotham Adventures number 4, Catwoman number 54, Catwoman Secret Files and Origins number 1, Detective Comics 203, Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 70, and Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 71. Moving on to Batman 506. I had to go and read this one because honestly there wasn't much in any of the synopsises. I don't, the plural of that word. Turns out there's a reason there's not much of a synopsis because not much actually happens in this. Batman runs around beating up some bad dudes, and then the comic closes out with a cliffhanger with Ballistic showing up, and it sets up a fight between him and Ballistic the following issue. I will say though, in this issue, Batman has a really cool suit. I'll show it on screen now. It looks pretty cool, right? Wonder Woman Volume 2, number 150. Wonder Woman and her Council of War confront Cronus, and a big fight breaks out among the gods. There's a bit of a war thing going on in this particular issue. Wonder Woman Volume 3, number 3. Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl, and Donna Troy all have to deal with some of Wonder Woman's most powerful enemies declaring war. Now that is a fantastic setup for a PvE mission. That actually sounds really fun. I may have to read this one. Anyway, this next one sounds awesome. Big fan of this next one. Green Lantern, Volume 3, number 49. An out-of-control Hal Jordan is seeking additional power to restore a destroyed coast city. He's on his way to Oa, and during that process, a bunch of different Green Lanterns show up to stop him. That sounds like a fun PvE mission, if you ask me. Green Lantern, Volume 4, number 60. Hal Jordan fights off Parallax, who is currently possessing the Flash. During the fight, Laugh-Lees and the Blue Lanterns arrive as backup. Another cool idea for a mission. A lot of these Green Lantern comics seem to work really well as PvE missions, I think. Action Comics number 419. This issue seems to be more of a Clark Kent issue than a Superman issue. He uses his powers to solve a handful of problems that pop up during the day. For example, he uses his heat vision to clean the lens that is contaminated by cosmic dust. And by the end of the issue, all seems well as he's dancing the night away with Lois Lane. Batman Volume 1, number 1. Even if you've never read a comic book in your life, you've probably seen this comic before. The very, very, very iconic cover. This is the very first appearance of both the Joker and Catwoman. Just 2 more to go now. We have Superman Annual Volume 3, number 1. Take a look at the image I had to work off of. Ugh, that's very blurry. I'm very fortunate that I was able to find a matching image, but unfortunately I was not able to find a matching synopsis. And for some reason, when I search for Superman on the DC Infinite app, it just crashes. I can search for every other character, but not Superman. I don't know why. So I don't even know if this is on the DC Infinite app, though I assume it is because it's New 52, so it's relatively recent. Green Lantern Corps Volume 2, number 1 is the final one we're going to go over today. The Green Lantern Corps expand their ranks. Guy Gardner is assigned to a feudal world of shadows and sudden death. I have no idea what that means, but it's in every synopsis that I found, so yeah. Either way, it doesn't sound very good for Guy Gardner. Oh, sorry, there's actually one more. I wasn't expecting this, but as I was going through the 2 different trailers, because if you remember correctly, there are 2 DC Dual Force trailers, just making sure there wasn't any differences between the 2. And for some reason, there is a difference. There is just one comic book cover that's changed. The change is that they added this Batman/Superman Volume 1, number 3.1, Doomsday. As you might have guessed, the issue is all about Doomsday. Forgive me, I didn't do a deep dive on the synopsis for this one because A, it's long, and B, this is a last-minute addition to the video, but it sounds like this is kind of an origin story or a bit of background story for Doomsday and his origin. So yeah. Alright, that is every single comic in the DC Dual Force trailer, minus the 8 we were not able to identify. Once again, I'll put those on your screen as we close out this video. Now, if anybody in the comments does find the matching comic book for these particular images, I'll leave a comment pinned with crediting whoever found it, and then whichever comic book it corresponds to. So hopefully collaboratively we can come up with a solution here. Thanks for watching, keep being awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one.